This time we talk about the airlines industry. Nigeria's airlines are set to stop domestic operations as of tomorrow in protest at the spiraling cost of jet fuel. The hikes have been triggered principally by Russia's invasion of the Ukraine at the end of February.
The airline operators of Nigeria, Aviation, says jet fuel price has risen almost fourfold this year, which is unsustainable. Aviation, which represents Nigeria's 9 domestic carriers, said the airlines had to subsidize services over the last 4 months. There have been many flight cancellations and delays since March, often blamed on a shortage of jet fuel. The price of air tickets has also tripled on some routes in recent weeks. Despite being Africa's largest oil producer, Nigeria imports almost all of its jet fuel. The manager of one of the airlines said the suspension would not affect international flights, though those with internal connections will be hit. It will be a massive disruption for travelers in Nigeria and another blow for one of Africa's largest economies. What's worse is that kidnapping gangs operate on highways, targeting vehicles and then abducting passengers whom they hold for ransom. Last month, a train was targeted on the high-speed link between Abuja and the city of Kaduna, and at least 62 people are known to have been taken hostage. It's been estimated that in the first 3 months of this year, more than 3,500 people were killed and many more kidnapped by armed groups in Nigeria. The government has not yet commented on the planned strike.
Aviation analyst Olumide Ohunayo is the Assistant Secretary General of the Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative, an industry think tank. He joins us now from Lagos in Nigeria. Very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us. Has there been any comment from the government about the planned protest?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Yes, the ministers asked the airlines to hold on the strike and splitting with them to please give the government a chance to see what they can do. Considering that the issue at hand is not within the purview of the aviation industry, is within the Ministry of Petroleum and Resources. So he has been pleading. He has sent a press release and tried to get across to the airline operators. Also, the House Committee on Aviation has also asked the airlines to please step down action, and they were going to call for another sitting during the week. And happily, the airlines have called off the strike.
So that call is being heeded. But what about your core concerns here? Because the airline industry is saying that it is unsustainable, that they have been subsidizing for the past 4 months the shortfall from the astronomically high jet fuel prices and prevented it from being passed down to consumers. So where to for now for them in terms of the talks?
Yes, that's true. The jet fuel price was about 220 naira sometime last year, and then right now it's about 700 naira. And as you leave from Lagos to other cities, the price begins to increase because Lagos has the port, and once it leaves the port, the cost of transportation and movement has increases the cost of the jet A1 as you move across to the other part of the country, and that's about 300% increase, and the airlines are justified to have come out and to cry and want the government to look at it. But what's surprising was that sometime last month, the airlines met with all the parties involved, from the aviation, from the Ministry of Aviation, Ministry of Petroleum, the transport tax, and those bringing in petroleum fuel. And it was agreed that the disparity within the landing costs of the fuel into Nigeria and from the port to the outlets, the airports, and all that, the disparity was so high, and that they would meet and reduce it to about 500 to 550 naira per liter. But unfortunately, that does not happen. And rather than say a reduction, which was about 600 there, we're seeing an increase, and that was what brought out the airlines, and they had to act. And I think for me, we support the actions of the airline operators.
Just take us through the practicalities of this. If you could just explain to us this. I understand that the airlines have to pay, or even the consumers have to pay for whatever the fees in Naira, but that the suppliers are paid in US dollars. What kind of complications arises as a result of this? Does it make it even more steeper for domestic airlines?
You see, the truth is that it's all over the world. It's passengers that pay for any increase in the cost of operation for airlines all over the world. And if the cost of operation for the airlines are increasing because of the cost of aviation fuel, of course it will be transmitted to the ticket fare. What has happened was that sometime last about 2 months ago, really, if I have those days right, the airline operators increased the ticket fare to about 100% from the about 26,000 for an hour flight. The minimum you have now is about 50,000 naira, and that was before this astronomical increase in the Jet A1. So if they have to now implement this new fare, the new fuel cost, we'll be looking at a ticket that will be moving to about 100 to 150,000 naira for an hour flight. So I think that's what they avoided, because even when they moved it to 50,000 naira, there was an outcry within the industry, and there was the passenger commented, and we had little passengers. But fortunately for us in the industry, because of the insecurity which you have highlighted, passengers have no other option than to fly. So it's time to bring the passengers. It's time to sustain and retain the passengers rather than drive them away with the fares. If Jet A1 fare continues to increase, then the airlines have no other option but than to increase the fare. But then if they increase that fare, would they have enough passengers to sustain that operation? This is what they avoid. They say, look, rather than do that, we need to make the government, the oil industry, and most importantly, the regulator in the oil industry to act and watch and see what they can do with the marketers to look at the disparity and return to the agreed amount of 500 naira.
Right. I'd imagine that it becomes even more difficult if there's lack of price stability in terms of the naira against the US dollar as well. So what is being suggested, proffered as suggestions by the airline industry? We'll get to government and what it can do in just a moment, but I want to understand, what is the industry suggesting?
Yeah, the airline is suggesting that the oil or the aviation jet A1 fuel price should be reduced to about 500 naira per liter for them to operate profitably, and also not to be licensed to import aviation fuel into Nigeria. Those are the two requests that have come from the operators themselves, and the government at that sitting, at the public sitting at the House of Rep, agreed to these two conditions of reducing the fuel and getting to be around 500 naira per liter, and also giving them license to also import aviation fuel and see what happens in the market. But up to today, nothing has happened after that sitting.
Right. I mean, Nigeria is itself an oil producer, one of the largest in Africa, but it imports almost all of its jet fuel. Why is this?
Well, what would I say? It's a structural decay. It's a problem we are living with. It's a problem we've tried to solve and we've not been able to solve. All the refineries have not been doing well, and that's why the government has been subsidizing the PMS. That's the petrol that is used by cars. But for the aviation fuel, diesel, kerosene, and others, there's no subsidy. So they say that they're regulated and it goes at the market, goes at the market. That's why you see that the cost of those other aspects of the petrol ingredients are expensive compared to the PMS that's been subsidized by government with about 3-point-something million naira per annum, and that is also giving problems to the economy, because the IMF has asked the government to stop subsidizing and allow the free market to flow. But if you allow that, there might be crisis. So right now, it's only aviation fuel, kerosene, and other aspects, diesel and others are deregulated, and that's why we can feel the pain. Again, when you ask, unfortunately, as of today, we do not refine aviation fuel in Nigeria. We import it. And because we import it, we all feel the pain. Luckily, Akwa State government has promised to join to have an aviation refinery in their state come next year. We just hope and wait for that. Maybe that would reduce the pain for us. But we can only get out of this regular and perennial problem if we start refining our products in Nigeria rather than exporting them.
So there's been a suggestion by some that to offset the price increases and to keep flying affordable for consumers, that governments perhaps need to look at rationalizing taxes. Would it be possible in Nigeria, and how would this be done?
Well, it's another area. It's one of the conditions given by the operators while having some proposals to the government. We're going through this long flight delay and cancellations, and one of the things pushed forward by the operators was reduction in tax. I also agree with them. We have so many taxes even within the aviation fuel itself. There's a tax from the port to city. There's a tax that the airport itself gives per liter sold within the airport. So if we can look at all these taxes, reduce these external taxes that outside the airport operations itself, we might probably be endearing more passengers to our airport, because let's face the fact: the airlines exist if there are passengers flying. The airlines will smile when more passengers fly, and the agencies and other government and only get more taxes when you have more passengers flying. So we must do everything to encourage airlines to fly and passengers to come on board, because these are not all the industries. We cannot continue to stifle the industry with policies, with taxes, and other external factors that inhibits travel and do not encourage employment.
Well, we've seen that some refineries around the world have tried to mitigate this by increasing their diesel production. Can you just explain to us how this works, and does it mean, especially with decarbonization efforts, people finding alternative or more environmentally friendly fuel emissions? How would this help?
Well, truth be said, Nigeria is not ready for the sustainable aviation, alternate aviation fuel. It's more expensive. There are a lot of testing and laboratory movement going on at the moment to ensure it's available and the cost of it. Right? Presently, the cost of that alternate fuel, which is more environmentally friendly, is not what most African countries can afford for now, and not for commercial operations. So it's still a long way. But we definitely will join the rest of the world at the appropriate time. But right now, what is used and what we have right now in Nigeria is that Jet A1, digital aspect that is refined for the aviation operation, for aircraft operations. So I think that's what we are faced now, and that's what we need to work on. Right now, what we need to do is to get a refinery in Nigeria that will refine this product so the airlines can have access to it. And even when we have other airlines coming into Nigeria, airlines that we can do stopover, technical stop in Nigeria, and also buy this same product in Nigeria, because at that time it will be cheaper. But unfortunately for us now, we are importing, and because we are importing, it's more expensive, and we are the vagaries of the international market price and operations. Like you said during your report, the crisis between Ukraine and Russia has increased the cost of petroleum products, and that has also reflected in Nigeria.
Just a quick one before I let you go. There has been the issue of digitalizing refueling as a means of cutting down costs. Is that something that is viable for the African market at the moment?
I agree. I agree to that. Yes, that's going to be viable if we can put the structures in place and then allow some of the instruments and professionals to get involved in it and prepare ahead of it. But at the moment, we are still bogged down with the traditional aviation fuel, because the regulatory authorities and other agencies that have to do with aviation industry are not pushing into the environment. They're not pushing that environment issue as it's been pushed in Europe and America, in the African continent. Until when we begin to push that environmental issue on how to reduce emission in the environment, we might not see African airlines tilting towards that alternative fuel.
Thank you so much for your time. Much appreciated. Aviation analyst Olumide Ohunayo is Assistant Secretary General of Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative. It is an industry think tank. He speaks to us from Lagos in Nigeria.